Welcome back, everybody, to another edition, a live Eagles post-game edition of the E&M podcast here at Heart Killer Media. As I told you earlier, win, lose, or draw, I would be here. And as I'm getting ready and as I'm thinking of the things that I'm going to talk about, there's probably like 3 minutes left in the game, and I'm like, okay, the Eagles won this game. I'm going to talk about what I liked, what I didn't like. And then, within a blink of an eye, they end up losing the game. And not just losing the game. Look, you can go back to last year. And I know it's what you're going to hear on the radio. I know what you're going to hear on the national media. You're going to hear about last year. You're going to hear about some of the terrible losses that they had in that stretch where they just were losing to terrible teams and were giving up leads. And we know, I don't have to go through that for people that are Eagle fans. We understand that. I've watched every snap of every game for the last probably 12 years of my life. And I can tell you, last year included, I have never seen a loss as bad as this one. This loss was absolutely, and demonetized or not, absolutely fucking terrible. One of the worst losses I've ever seen. And listen, I know Jalen Hurts, interception at the end, terrible throw, whatever. You cannot, and Saquon Barkley, dropping a sure first down, would be touchdown, would be first down that would end the game. I get it. But you cannot put this on the Eagles offense. The Eagles offense that was missing one of the best offensive weapons in the game today in A.J. Brown. They did what they had to do. It was 21 points. I understand. You look at that fourth quarter, time of possession. They quadrupled, it seemed like, what Atlanta had. But what I have a problem with, what I have a real big issue with, and what is going to eat me alive, is this Philadelphia Eagles defense. I was going to, if they won, this was going to be the point of the video. If they won, was how bad this Eagles defense is, because they're going to play a Saints team in New Orleans next week that's going to absolutely effing eat them alive. Every single one of them. There's no pass rush whatsoever. They're paying Bryce Huff $37 million a year, and this guy can't get within 10 feet of a quarterback. Now, last week, I said to myself, maybe it's because of Brazil in this terrible field that they were playing on, and that these guys they were slipping and sliding on both ends of the football. Today, at home opener, crowd going crazy. Bryce Huff was invisible. And don't get me started on the other guys. First of all, Brandon Graham is a Philadelphia legend, a Philadelphia hero, and he's on the last year of his career, and he plays more than some of these young guys. A former first-round pick in Nolan Smith, who I'm going to say it right now, and I hope and pray that he proves me wrong, is an absolute bust. He's a bust. Another guy can't get close to the quarterback. That last drive that the Falcons had with 1 minute and 39 seconds left, they didn't pressure Kirk Cousins at all. Not at all. All game. Kirk Cousins, that last week looked like a washed-up veteran quarterback that couldn't move. A guy coming off of a surgery. A guy that literally, like, he cannot scramble. And the Eagles could not get to him. No hurries. One sack by Milton Williams. It was embarrassing. I felt embarrassed, and I'm so glad I didn't pay the money to go to that game today. What an embarrassment that this Eagles defense is. Again, and let's just, okay, we're going to talk about them not getting to the quarterback. What about the run game? How much, Bijan Robinson and Tyler Algier together, they almost had 200 yards rushing. The Eagles could not stop the run. They couldn't stop it. You could have put Kirk Cousins on a walker running up the middle, and they couldn't have stopped him either. They can't stop the run. They can't stop the They can barely stop the pass. There was a part in that game, and this is where I honestly was like, okay, the Eagles are winning this game, and it's when on 4th and short, Chauncey Gardner-Johnson ends up stopping Bijan Robinson, and then the Eagles kind of manipulate their way down the field. Obviously, Saquon drops and I can't blame it on Saquon. Guy's a beast. He played his ass off. Same with Jalen, man. There were times when nothing was going right for that offense, and Jalen had to run like old Jalen, and he looked like old Jalen. He was fast like old Jalen. He was fired up. I can't put this on an offense that was without A.J. Brown. Jahan Dotson had one catch. I said this in the preview video. I don't know if he's got chemistry with Jalen. I don't know if he knows the playbook like he should. He's been here a month. I don't know if I can really put that on him. Johnny Wilson dealing with a hamstring was out there for a lot of plays. Britton Covey did what he could do, but he's Britton Covey. I'm bigger than him, and I'm 5'7". I felt like the offense, and yeah, Dallas Goedert barely got any catches, but I felt like the offense against an Atlanta defense that's not. It's not like they're terrible. It's not like they're the Carolina Panthers. I mean, there's a lot of good pieces on that Atlanta team. So I really can't put this on the offense. And the coaching staff probably should have went for the field goal in the beginning of the game. But again, it wouldn't have mattered because I can't believe. I'm sitting here and I really cannot believe that Kirk Cousins, a guy who is now 4-10 in primetime games, ended up with 1 minute and 39 seconds carving this Eagles defense alive to the point where they score a friggin' touchdown and take the lead. I can't believe it. And we can talk, and I know there's going to be the talking heads all day long talking about the last Eagles drive and the interception by Jalen. This should have never happened. They should have never needed that. All the defense needed to do, one stop. One. Crucial. I mean, it is as crunch time as you can get it is what they were in. 1 minute and 39 seconds to stop Kirk Cousins, not Patrick Mahomes, not Joe Burrow, not Lamar Jackson, no elusive quarterbacks that like these guys. Not even Justin Fields, like a guy that can run around. It's Kirk Cousins, and you can't stop Kirk Cousins. One of the most terrible losses that I can remember. And again, you look at that last drive with Saquon. Saquon was a beast the entire game. They should have went to him more. I just can't, with my heart, can't put it on him. At the same time, if he catches the ball, the game is probably over with. But even if let's just say the Eagles won the game, right? And they go 2-0. Do we feel good about them going to New Orleans in the Superdome against a Saints team that has put up over 90 points? Do we really feel good with the way the Eagles defense was? I don't think so. And I said this again, guys, in the preview video. One mistake you do not do, and I did not do this week because I did it last year, when teams like the 49ers and the Giants and the Dallas friggin' Cowboys end up losing, do not talk shit before your team plays. Because things like this happen. And there were so many Eagle fans laughing at the Cowboys and laughing at the Niners. And look what happens. I would take that Cowboys loss over this Eagles loss any day of the week. At least they can say, you know what, it just wasn't our day. At least the Cowboys can say, it just wasn't our day. They beat our ass. It wasn't our day. What do the Eagles say? What do you say? What do you say to a defense where all you need to do, and this is the thing that's crazy to me, and this is why this becomes one of the worst losses I've ever seen. All you needed to do was stop them from getting in the end zone. It's not like you had to stop them from kicking a field goal. Stop them from getting in the end zone. And somebody said this online earlier, and I kind of agree. The Eagles, it's like a rule. The Eagles' offense and defense cannot be good at the same time. If the Eagles' defense is good, the Eagles' offense sucks. If the Eagles' offense is good, the Eagles' defense sucks. Well, the Eagles' defense, for the first couple drives of the game, they were decent. They were good. They held the Falcons to field goals. Then it all goes to shit, man. Once the Falcons realize that they can run the ball against the Eagles with literally no resistance, everything gets thrown out the door. And let's talk about the flags. I can blame the officials all day long. But there was some shit that just was, you can't defend. Pass interference calls, a face mask by Brandon Graham, unsportsmanlike conduct. What are we doing? You're not that good at defense to be making mistakes like that. You're just not. No turnovers in this game. They had one turnover last game. It's again, we can go, oh man, it's 2023 all over again. No, this, and again, it was some dark times last year. Some dark times last year. This loss is worse, in my opinion, than any of the losses last year, because it should have been a win. It should have been a win. And again, we would have walked away and we would have been scratching our heads and going, man, they won, but damn. This kind of feels like that 10-1 type win. So the Eagles are 1-1. The Cowboys are 1-1 in the division. And I think the Commanders are 1-1 too. It's a mess, and we go into the Superdome next week against a New Orleans team that, I mean, they're doing everything that the Eagles aren't doing. Let's be honest. I should probably save this for the preview video for next week, but let's be honest, man. The Alvin Kamara, Rashid, what, I don't even know his last name. They're so good right now. And again, it's only week 2. I know a lot of smoke and mirrors, but there's one thing that's not smoke and mirrors, and that's the fact that Vic Fangio, you need to get your shit together, man. You've got to get on Nick Foles night. You guys do this. Look, no excuses. Come on, man. Vic Fangio, on Nick Foles night, your defense looks horrendous. And you know, while we're on the defense, Zach Bond was a superstar last week, almost invisible this week. You deactivate Devin White. How bad can Devin White be to not be activated for this team? Why are guys like Thomas Booker making more plays? Thomas Booker, that nobody thought was going to make the football team. He's making more plays than your $37 million guy in Bryce Huff. And then he's getting run off the field. Like, what is going on? And I was a big proponent of bringing Vic Fangio in. Big fan of Vic Fangio. I mean, you talk about a guy that used to be a head coach. You talk about a guy that's been around forever, who knows defense. What is going on, man? What is going on? You can't stop Kirk Coupons. You can't stop the and it's not like Drake London had a great day. Bijan Robinson didn't get in the end zone. Kyle Pitts was invisible, as he always is. And they still ended up making your defense look absolutely horrendous. There was a play where Nakobe Dean, I watched him, he let a guy run right past him without even trying to tackle. CJ, I love the guy. I love his moxie. I love the fact that he's kind of like an X factor. I love his attitude. But come on, man. On that touchdown pass that Kirk Cousins threw, you should have tackled homeboy. Like, you should have. Like, why can't you just tackle, man? But then at the end of the game, he makes a great play on 4th and short. I'm pulling my hair out with this team because I know there's a lot of special talent on this team. I know it. They're just, even on the defense. Jalen Carter, what happened? 6 sacks as a rookie. I didn't even notice you today. Maybe one time. CJ is a double-edged sword. Yeah, absolutely. That's the best definition for him. A double-edged sword, man. He makes some great plays, and then it's like you're watching the guy, and you're like, what? How do you miss these tackles, man? It's week 2. Okay, week 1, Brazil, bad field. I get it. This is week 2 at home on Nick Foles night, man. I can't even stomach it. I can't imagine what these guys do. And I had a feeling. My heart was doing the same thing, but I had a feeling. Even like when Saquon dropped that ball, I was like, man, I don't trust this defense. Yeah. And the same thing with Slay. What are you doing? Like, what? Like, Avonte Maddox had a better game than last week, but he's still. They've got to figure something out. Cooper DeJean, if he's the real deal, he's got to somehow get on the field. Devontae Maddox like hurt his back walking. Like, what is going on? Like, I just don't understand it. I just don't get it, man. I just don't get it. I just don't. And a lot of people, and I said in my prediction, I thought it was going to be a 34-21 game because of the atmosphere, because of Saquon Barkley. I thought Jahan Dotson was going to have a really good game, and Devontae Smith. And it just, Kellen Moore, like, there were, yeah, there is no pass rush. There's if I was Howie Roseman, if I was and I've been talking about this and I'm like, oh, this would never work. Like I would never do it. If I was Howie Roseman, I would get on the phone with Joe Douglas tonight and say, you can have your picks back. I'll even give you an extra pick. Trade Hassan Reddick back to me, and then I would pay Hassan Reddick. He knows how to do it. He knows how to work the cap. I would pay Hassan Reddick because you need someone on this team that's going to cause some pressure. Bryce Huff ain't it. And I said this shit in one of my videos, one of the few videos I had from the offseason about Bryce Huff. Bryce Huff had 10 plus sacks last year, and if you look at all of his sacks, he had a bunch against the Eagles when we played the Jets last year. And it was because Lane Johnson was out. A lot of his sacks have come against backup offensive linemen. Yeah, I'll get to that in a minute. With backup offensive linemen or shitty quarterbacks. And the Eagles bought into it, and they overpaid Bryce Huff. Yeah, Jalen didn't have to, again, try to play hero ball because Jake Elliott has a leg. I think time was something of the essence on that one. I'm not sure what he was looking at in that last pass. Again, he should have never been in that position to begin with. I mean, again, it's hard for me to, hold the offense to the fire when they just, if anything, that last sequence of plays, instead of the pass to Saquon, just run it with Saquon, burn some more time, kick the field goal. And that probably wouldn't even mattered anyway. Because I think Kirk Cousins could have had a minute. He could have had 45 seconds. And this Eagles defense just wasn't going to stop them. They just weren't going to stop them. And again, next week is next week. But, man, they're going to be in a place where the Eagles never historically have played well in. And they're going to play against a team that is running on octane right now. But, yeah, they shouldn't have been in that position. Wasn't a bad throw by Jalen. Maybe. I have to look at it again to see what he was thinking. And the sad thing is he played a great game, I thought. When shit wasn't there, he used his legs and he looked fast. He looked like 2022 Jalen. There were some throws that were you're just like, there was a couple to Devontae Smith where you're like, holy shit. And speaking of Devontae Smith, love the kid. I think he was one of the better players tonight, but he also dropped a touchdown. Perfect ball right in his hands that he dropped. It's so frustrating to be. And again, I'm trying to keep things in perspective. Again, the Cowboys are 1-1. So are the 49ers. There were a lot of upsets this week. But it was right there, man. They had 2-0 right there. It was right there. And this defense, man, I think, I'll be honest, and last year's defense was a disaster, as we remember. I think through 2 games, man, this defense might be worse until they figure something out. Did Isaiah Rodgers play today? Did he? I don't know. Quinyon Mitchell had a couple good plays and a couple bad plays. He's a rookie. I don't. You have 1 minute and 39 seconds, man. Yeah, the Eagles. This is what they. This is what the Eagles do, man. And this is why I wasn't talking shit when the Cowboys lost, because we hadn't even played yet. On paper, and even just watching, the Eagles were without a doubt, talent-wise, I thought was better. But they just couldn't. The defense couldn't stop the run to save their life. That second, the first drive of the second half. I mean, it was like, don't you go in halftime and kind of talk about things? Like how is it possible that you're that bad? How is it possible that there is zero pass rush? I still believe in Jalen Carter. I think Jalen Carter is a monster. I really do. But other than him, and maybe Milton Williams, who, by the way, Milton Williams has been dealing with a foot injury. He's your only sack of the game. That's all I got. Everybody loves BG. We love him. But he's long in the tooth, man. He should be playing as many snaps as he's playing. They've got to do something. And it's only week 2, and I get it, and I understand it. I remember in 2022, the Eagles played Green Bay. It was on Thursday night. It was a primetime game. It might have been a Monday night. They played Green Bay, or Sunday night. It was Sunday Night Football. They played Green Bay, and they couldn't stop the run. They won the game, but they just couldn't stop the run. And after that, Linval Joseph was signed, and Ndamukong Suh was signed by the Eagles, and that defense got better against the run. They need to do something now. I know it's week 2, but look, fine. Jalen Carter's legit. Milton is too. Yeah, and I'll never not love BG, and he's playing decent. The face mask today was not ideal, but the Eagles need to figure something out, man. If you need week 3 against the Saints, you need to get completely thrashed by Alvin Kamara. If you need that to happen before you realize, look, we've got to figure something out, then so be it. But there's something, and it's only week 2. I get it. I understand it. It's only week 2. But they face the Saints next week. They face the Bucks the week after. Something's got to give, guys, because I can't sit through another year like 2023. And I guess maybe this is a little bit different because look, they were 10-1 before they collapsed. At least we're kind of seeing what's wrong now, so there's still time to fix it. But man, I want to say this too, and I hope he's back next week. It sounds like he's not going to be. AJ Brown is a huge part of this team and a huge part of this offense. And this is no excuses. But if AJ Brown's on this team tonight, I think the Eagles put up more than 21 points. I don't know if they win because the defense again couldn't stop anything. I mean, I've got a high school team up the road that could probably put up points against this defense. But if AJ Brown is on the field, I think that the Eagles score more than 21 points. And I heard there was conflicting reports. I heard AJ Brown, they said on the broadcast that he spoke to somebody and said it might be a couple weeks. And then I think I saw a Schefter report where it said, look, he could have probably played tonight. Will probably only be out for a week. I don't know. If I'm AJ Brown, I'm not going to tell you the truth. I'm not. I'm going to make the Saints think they don't have to play me. So again, that's just me. Maybe he was telling the truth, but he is such a huge part of this team. And even if you go back to when he didn't play in that playoff game last year, they put up 10 points. Devontae Smith had 134 yards. AJ Brown is just an absolute beast, and I think they put up more than 21 points in this game. I think he's that big a deal. But either way, if he's not going to be on the field next week, they need to get some chemistry between Jalen and Jahan, because Jahan Dotson had one catch, and I was watching some of his routes, and they were nice and they were crisp, but the ball didn't go his way. So, and again, this isn't a slight on Jalen. I thought Jalen played a tremendous game today. That one drive, it was all him. It was like 70 yards. I think he had rushing. I mean, the guy was electric. Threw a perfect ball to Saquon that was dropped. I know Saquon's not used to seeing perfect balls like that because he played with Daniel Jones for years, so it's going to take a minute to get out of there. Goddard absolutely needs to get going. And, I was thinking about Goddard today because we put a lot of stock in Dallas Goedert, talking about Dallas Goedert being, a top 5 tight end or this. But listen, man, and it breaks my heart to say this. because I do love the guy. But what has Dallas Goedert done in the past 2 years? What has he done? Like, to be a serious, if I'm a defensive coordinator and I'm looking at guys that I need to watch out for, is Dallas Goedert one of those guys? I don't think so. I don't think so. He's definitely not comparable to Travis Kelsey. George Kittle, I don't think he's on George Kittle's level. I just the dude. I mean, he's hurt a lot. I understand that might have something to do with it, but again, a night like tonight where you're without AJ Brown, like Goddard needs to be getting open. Like what is happening? And Calcaterra had a better game than Dallas Goddard did. Think about that for a minute. Calcaterra. Am I lying? Is this? Am I? Maybe I saw something different. Because I don't think I did. At the end of the game, he had a nice catch right before the interception. But he's not giving us what we need. In the past 2 years, he just hasn't. I mean, and the shit hurts because I like the guy and I like to believe as an Eagles fan that he's a top 4 or 5 wide or tight end, but I can't. I can't look at guys like Brock Bowers and not this week, but Isaiah Likely and then see Dallas Goddard, and it's just like it's not that Jalen's not hitting him because he's hitting Calcaterra. It's again, it's hard for me to really put this on the offense. You're without AJ Brown and you're throwing passes to Britton Covey. What do you want me to say there? You would expect your defense to really, really put in a good performance, and they didn't. They just didn't. You have a minute and 39 seconds for Kirk coupons, and you let them score a touchdown. It's not a field goal, it's a touchdown, guys. Help me out here. Somebody help me out here. Because I just it makes me want to lose my mind. Yeah, but at Goddard and Calcaterra, you're right, similar games. But what is Calcaterra is not in any conversation as a really good tight end. Like, he's just not. Dallas Goddard is always in the conversation as like one of the top tight ends in the league. And I feel like ever since he got his arm broke again in that game against Dallas a couple of years ago, he just hasn't been the same. He just hasn't been. Same with Avonte Maddox. You remember Avonte Maddox used to be like one of the top nickel corners in the league? And then all the injuries, and now he just looks like an old man out there. Like I mean, there were so many plays where I'm just watching him, and I'm like, man, Kirk missed. And there were plays Kirk Cousins missed tonight. It could have been worse. It could have been worse. The Eagles have to figure out something on defense. I mean, like, look, I'll tell you right now, I don't. There's not a bone in my body that thinks that the Philadelphia Eagles are going to defeat the New Orleans Saints. And I couldn't have told you that during the offseason. I would have said, no, the Saints are going to be Derek Carr. But I look at this defense, and it's a Vic Fangio defense, and they suck. They suck. How bad does Devin White have to be to not be activated? Yeah, he absolutely should have got out of that too deep look. I think he blitzed a couple times. One of them failed. I think it was on the touchdown. If you can't get there with your 4, like, you've got to figure something out. That last drive, man. What are we doing? Think about this. Kirk Cousins had a minute and 39 seconds to work with. He scores a touchdown. The Eagles still have 34 seconds. Meaning, it took a little over a minute for Kirk Cousins and the Atlanta Falcons to score a touchdown in Philadelphia against the Eagles defense and against a raucous crowd where nobody left. What does that tell you? We've seen some bad corners, man. We've seen some average corners. We've seen some average defenses. I've never seen anything like this when it comes to the Eagles. I just haven't. I want to say soft. I want to say they're soft. I can't. I'm looking at this line and I'm like, oh my God, Kirk Cousins has so much time. Like they're not even threatening to get in his face. Like Jordan Davis, man, what a wasted pick. What a wasted pick Jordan Davis was. Terrible. The Eagles could have had Kyle Hamilton, man. But Jordan Davis, what does he do? What does he do? Do you ever hear his name? Have you heard his name in the past 2 games? Barely. Nothing. Supposed to be a guy that can stop the run. They can't stop the run. I mean, think about it. Again, I'm going to say it again. I'm not giving up on Jalen Carter, but you don't hear about him. You don't hear about Jordan Davis, Nolan Smith. I think about it. If the Eagles didn't get Jalen Carter, Nolan Smith would have been their only first-round pick last year. He's done nothing. And I love the guy's moxie and attitude. And I remember seeing one of his press conferences. I was like, man, this guy's going to be a star. And maybe, he's like BG because BG sucked for the first couple of years. But right now, he's terrible. I've never seen. And I think that, and I could be wrong here. Stats are for nerds. I could be wrong, but I don't think that the Eagles have had a sack from an edge rusher in 2 games. And that's, I mean, think about this, guys. Like, that's like an anomaly, man. What are we doing? Josh Sweat, is he even playing? Get that number 19 off your jersey, man. Maybe put up back 94 or get a different number. Yeah, but the thing is, I don't know where would you put Nolan Smith? Like, where would you put him? Like, where would you? He's too little to be, in my opinion, too skinny to be a linebacker. Like, what do you do with this guy? Like, what do you do with this? What do you do with him? I don't understand it. I don't. Yeah, 19 reminds me of JJ. I think at Whiteside, but yeah, hats off to the Falcons, man. Like seriously, like they saw that, and they said they probably went in there and said we got a minute and 39 seconds. This Eagles defense hasn't stopped us but once all game. Like they're not shit. Like we're gonna score a touchdown, and that's exactly what they did. And again, he didn't even do it with like his big time weapons, Bijan or Pitts or Drake. I mean Drake London caught the touchdown at the end, but I mean come on, man. It's just like. What are we doing, man? I can't imagine. I just can't imagine the Eagles defense doing this. Terrible game, guys. Terrible game. Makes me like. It's just. And when the Eagles lose, I don't listen to any of the radio or the national media. Like, I shut down for a week. But I'm interested to see what they say here. I'm sure everybody's going to probably blame Jalen Hurts for that last interception. But make no mistake about it. This was, and again, I know you're looking at it going, well, they only gave up 22 points. This was an absolute defensive failure. It was. It was air and on the ground. When the offense has a lead and you have a minute and 39 seconds, and the Falcons had no timeouts. The Falcons had no timeouts. None. Not one. Yeah, don't want to hear the media. They didn't have one timeout. When a minute and 39 seconds and not one timeout, you expect your defense to get a stop, man. Make it hard on them. And it was almost like this Eagles defense was like, just like what were they trying to do? Like just score so we can have a Jake Elliott moment at the end? Like what? Like something needs to happen, man. The edge rushers can't get off their blocks. They can't set the edge. The interior defensive linemen. I mean, the offensive line of the Falcons. They're just the holes were so big. It hurts, man. It hurts. This is last week I felt great about the team. even with the and again, Hurts played good today, man. He really did. Even with his interceptions last week, I still felt good because the Packers are a really good team. As you saw this week, they actually won their game with a backup quarterback. But this week, it's the opposite, man. It's the opposite feeling. I don't know how this defense is going to be able to stop teams. I just don't. And in the beginning of the season, I thought the Falcons were going to be a really good offensive team. Like they just have weapons everywhere. And I watched them last week against Pittsburgh, and I understand TJ Watt's a monster. And then I watched them tonight, and they put up 22 points. It's not like there's fire. They're not running on all cylinders, but our defense still couldn't stop them when they absolutely needed to. Man, it's just I can't believe. I can't. And ESPN did everything they could to jinx it too. One of the guys said, "Well, we'll be back with the winning team," and as of right now, it looks like it's going to be the home team. 5 minutes later, oh shoot, you're in Germany, Drew. Thanks for watching, brother. Yeah, we definitely have to regroup, man. Definitely have to regroup. And I don't know, man. We'll be able to tell next week what kind of team we have because if they just let the Saints run all over them uh, and it's like an ass whooping like Dallas got from them, then we know that this team isn't much for anything this year. But again, thanks for watching, brother. Always appreciate it. I'm only gonna stay on here for a couple more minutes anyway. But it's definitely you're gonna next week is you're gonna find out what kind of team you have in week 3. And I heard the guys on the radio today saying, "Well, this is a must win," and it's like, dude, it's only week 2. It's only week 2. If you look at the history of the NFL, like you just don't know like until about week 4 or 5 what teams are. But again, this was just one of the worst losses that I can remember as an Eagle fan, and we had a bunch of bad ones last year. Just a bad game altogether. And the positives again, Jalen looked fast. Saquon's a beast. Even though he dropped that ball that he should have caught at the end, we wouldn't be talking about this. Devontae Smith, again, kid. Even though he dropped a touchdown, I think the kid's a stud. The Eagles' offensive line, they played a great game. Makai Becton looks awesome. He looks awesome. And that's for the offense. As far as the defense goes, Quinyon Mitchell. I mean, he missed a tackle, but he had a would-be interception. He was kind of all over the ball. I think he looked good. Uh, Man, guys, that's all I can really tell you about the defense. That was a positive. I would say from the offensive side of the ball, get Shipley more involved. Young running back, I think he could help you guys out there more than Kenny Gainwell could. And they've got to find. I mean, Calcaterra is good, but they got to figure something else out at tight end because for whatever reason, Dallas Goedert just he ain't hitting this year. He just ain't hitting. But that's it for me, I think, guys. There's only so much I can really talk about when it comes to this team. And when you watch a loss like that, like rip your heart out, step on it. Like I can imagine what these people that were at the game are actually feeling right now because I mean it was again just one of the worst losses. Like the Eagles had no business losing that game. I already heard one of the guys on the TV say, "Well, this is the 2023 Eagles. They lose this game." At the end of the but at the end of the day, last week 2023 Eagles lose that game against the Packers too. So what are we looking at? Is it a hybrid, a mixture of uh, in between? I don't know. But damn, I'm just gutted, gutted. Terrible loss. Hats off to the Falcons for staying in there and realizing the Eagles defense just couldn't stop them. They just couldn't. That's it. Falcons win 22-21. Ugly score too. Ugly score. The Eagles face the Saints at the Superdome next week. The Saints team has put up 90 points against the Cowboys with an amazing defense and the Carolina Panthers with a JV defense. They can do it against both. And what in the hell are they going to do this Eagles defense? I hate to even think about that. But everybody, please stay safe, stay healthy. Go Birds, and I will see you later. And that is it.